Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele Jutrisa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up here in New South Wales, Australia. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's really great having you here. Please jump on, say hello, let me know who you are and where you're from, because it's always wonderful chatting with some the old, I shouldn't say that, the regulars that jump on here and anyone who's new. Last week I started a little series that I'm doing working on easel cards. So earlier this year we did one on Z-fold cards where I created and shared with you 4 to 5 different styles in Z-folds. So this time we're doing the same thing but with different styles of easel cards. So let me flip my camera down. As I said, jump on, say hello. It's always great having you here and saying hello. And hello, Deborah. Thank you for jumping on. Really great to have you. So let me flip this camera down. There we go. And as you can see, I've got a few products here on my desk. So this is the card we made last week using a fairly standard style of easel card. So that's an easel card. So it's a card that is 3D. It's also a fun fold card, but it's a card that has a little bit of interaction where you just don't open it as you would do a normal card. You could create a stand so you can display your card easily on your bench or table. So that was the one we did last time, and there is my template for that one. So this is the template for the one we're doing today. Now this is a very similar fold, just a couple of little differences. With this one here, I created it like a Z-fold card in the fact that I had a flat base, created this fold and folded back onto itself just like a Z-fold. With this one, instead of folding back onto itself, we're still going to score it in the middle, but we're going to fold it forward, and I'll explain that as we go along. So this is my template. This is a card that I saw. It was either on Instagram or something like that last week, and I thought, oh, that's a fun card. So what it is, it's a window, it's a frame. So we're going to create this frame, and I'm going to be using the tools that we have available to us with Stampin' Up. Now, as I said before, it's still creating this type of a Z, but instead of folding back onto itself and going back up, I'm folding it forward, so to give it more strength and stability. But it's just another way of doing a Z, or not a Z-fold card, sorry, doing an easel card. With this one, we've got a piece of window sheet. As you can see, I've used some old stock of window sheet in there, and we're going to be decorating that. So you've got this element of floating to this card. So you could put something on there that's going to look like it's floating, but it's not. It's actually attached to this piece of window sheet. And then, of course, we have our bar in the middle, which we create to add our put our sentiment on, and that is what creates our easel, because that's what holds the front of this card up. So that is my template for that. Now, if I grab my original template, which is for a standard size card, you can see that this is actually quite a bit smaller, and that's because I'm using the frame from one of our other sets. So what I've got here is I'm going to be using this frame, which comes in the beautiful motifs dies. Now, if you don't have this, you could use any rectangular dies that you have to create a die cut for the outside, and then one in the inner to create your frame, and we're going to be using the outer of this particular frame here. So this is already done for us as a fact of a already frame. So my card measurements are actually the size of this frame here. As you can see, they are both the same size there, but that's where I'm taking my frame from. Now, I've already done a lot of pre-cutting for this, just so then we can get in and I can show you how to create this. So I have using the beautiful motifs dies to create my frame. I'm going to use the Greetings for You Mix and Match Ephemera pack again for my sentiment. So I've already chosen that and popped that to one side. And again, I'm going to be using the Christmas Tags and More Mix and Match Specialty Designer Series paper. So I've taken some elements from this, which I'm going to be using to go onto that piece of window sheet. And then I'm going to be decorating my card also with some of the 6x6 Designer Series paper. So let me show you what I have got here. So there's make sure I've got the right way. I've been putting it upside down all day. So what I have done is I have created a card base, and I'm using, what am I using? What color am I using? I'm using green, and it is the garden green. Sorry, my mind went slightly to a blank. All the measurements and everything will be on my blog. I will have a printable PDF that you can print off and use for this. Hello, Joan. How are you? Thank you for joining us. So what I've cut here, I've cut a card base here, which is the same size of my frame, and I've added an extra centimetre at the top. So this piece here is 9.2 by 14.5, and I've scored it at a 13.5, and that's creating like a tab. And that tab there we're going to bring forward, and I'm just going to grab my bone folder here and burnish that. Now I will show you what we're going to do with that in a moment. I've also cut 2 in the garden green frames. We need 3 frames altogether. So I've got 2 frames there, and that's that larger frame. And then I am creating my 3rd frame from the All Seasons Velvet cardstock. So that's one of the products in the current catalogue. Sorry, my brain is just going foggy today. With all the Christmas products, it's the colours in this. You've got white, you've got red, you've got green, but it matches quite well with the cardstock I'm going to be using. So I'm going to use that as my front. Now, what you could do as an alternative is to die cut a 3rd frame in your cardstock and then run it through an embossing folder if you wish to have some texture, or just leave it quite plain. It's really up to you. But I decided to use this lovely velvet cardstock here. And there are the 2 inner pieces from my frame, which we don't actually need. So I'm going to pop them to one side. I've also got a piece of my window sheet, and this measures about 13 centimetres by 1.5. You just need a thin little strip. It's going to be sandwiched in between 2 of our frames. So then we can attach our elements on it. How are you, Deborah? Oh, I've already said hello to you. It's Friday, time for a break. Yeah, it is a bit. I've been sewing all week, and I've been quite busy. But I've also had a bit of an unusual week. So I've had a few things happen this week. So I've been sitting here all morning playing. So it's nice to have a break and do something I really enjoy. Okay, now I've also got a piece of basic white cardstock. Now this is going to be, this piece here is going to go onto the base of our card on the back here. And that's so then you've got somewhere to write a sentiment if you wish to write something to whoever you are giving this card for. Because this is a window card, you can see straight through. So there's really nowhere that you could write a message if you wanted to write a message on there. So that's why I've popped that on there for the back of that. We've also got a piece of the Designer Series paper. So at the end, just let me grab my bits and pieces here. So I've got my sentiment. As I said, I'm using, again, sentiments from the Mix and Match sentiments. I've got some elements here from the Designer Series paper pack that I'm going to decorate my card my front of my easel card with. And then I've got this one here. Now this is the piece that's going to go on the inside of our card in here. The original card that I saw actually had an embossed piece in there. So you could pop in there whatever you wanted. You could do an embossed piece. You could do a plain piece of cardstock. But I've decided to use this piece from the designer series paper. And what I've done is I've cut out this panel here and I've trimmed this panel down to the same size again. Actually, it's slightly smaller. It's 3 mil smaller than this measurement through here. So as I said, my measurements and everything, I'm not going to run through them again now. They will be on my PDF that you can grab. Probably will have it up by tomorrow for you. Okay, so what I've done here, I just wanted to show you this. I've cut this off here, removing this piece here because I only wanted this piece. And then I've taken a bit off either side. So then I've centralized this piece. So it's slightly narrower, but I didn't take it all off one side. I've taken a bit off. It's around about a centimetre, a bit less than a centimetre either side, and again some off the height. And that's how I've got this piece here. So let's put this card together and hopefully it'll all turn out fine. So let's go back to our base here, and we've already folded this tab down. So we've got a tab here. And what I'd like to do, this is anytime I'm making a box or anything like that, I'll take my adhesive and adhere my adhesive to my cardstock, and I'm going to put it right up as close as I possibly can to that folded, that scored edge there. Now this is my little tip here, is once I've got that adhered down, I can then just very slightly angle these pieces here, and that's just so you don't have anything hanging over the edge. Now a lot of people will angle those first and then put on your tape. I like to do it with my tape first because then it takes my tape right to the very edge. I don't have any little pieces where my adhesive tape might finish a few millimeters from the edge, or it finishes straight, so things can get caught on those edges. My adhesive now is going from edge to edge. So that's just a little quick tip. Now once we've done that, we're going to take one of these frames. Now what I have to do with this frame beforehand is score it, and because I want to score it in half to get this fold here. Okay, so what I need to do is I'm going to grab my scoring board here. This is 13.6, so it works out around about 7. I did work it out. 6.8. Let me just double check. Let's say 13.6, so that should be about 6.8. So I'm going to pop this on my 6.8, making sure I'm only using my scoring tool, and I'm going to score that in half. The other thing, of course, you can do is just fold that in half. And I've just gone over that a few times, so I've got a nice fold there. So we're going to fold this in half, making sure that we've got our ends up here meeting. Give that a nice crisp fold there, and I'm just going to burnish those little ends. So what we're doing is we're creating that card base. Now there was another way I was looking at doing this, because this is slightly different to the video that I saw, in the fact that they actually had this piece as all in one, rather than in two pieces. But to be able to do that, I would have to do a partial die cut using the dies that we've got. And I thought this is a much simpler way of doing it. So by adding the tab here onto the back. And I don't think it's going to be seen, so it should look okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay that on top. butting up those ends and give that a really good burnish. So that's forming that hinge there, and then we've got this folded part. So there's the first part of our easel card. Okay, so that will fold eventually nice and flat, and you can see that I've created that all the same size. And you can see in there by wedging those out a little bit on the sides, there's no chance of that hanging over. You don't need to do anything sharp. It just needs to be a little bit of a wedge out, and that just sits in there and looks nice, and it's not going to be that noticeable. So now let's grab our other two frames and let's finish our frame piece. So here's our frames here. So we've got one frame cut in the velvet paper, and we've got one frame cut in the garden green. What we're going to do is grab some glue dots, and we're going to add a glue dot at either end of our window sheet. So I'm going to pop one on that end and then one on this end here. And then with my frame sitting there, now that's the right side up, that's the wrong side. It is really up to you. It's not going to matter either way which way you do, but we do want to get this window sheet in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm lining this up using my grid here as my guide, and actually I think I might use that dotted line there on my grid. And I want to put that as much into the center as I possibly can. And I'm going to line that one up with there. And that one to the top. Now, I have actually made this slightly smaller. So my length there is about 13.5 centimetres. I've actually cut my window sheet down to 13, so it doesn't quite go to your edge. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we need to firm this up. We also want to cover this, and this is where this one comes in. This one is going to be going over the top, and it's going to create the front of our frame. Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you. So I'm going to use multi-purpose glue for this, and I'm going to add a row of multi-purpose glue right across. If you wanted to, you could put another glue dot on top of that window sheet, but I'm just popping that all the way around the outer edge. You can put a couple of rows if you want. Spread that glue out a little bit. Just be very careful you don't have too much glue, because you don't want it oozing out at the sides. And then we're going to sit that on top. And because I've used multi-purpose glue, I've got the time to actually slide that into place. Give that a gentle rub just to make sure that that glue is now well and truly spread. And that's the front of our card. Oh, you're from Texas. Well, thank you very much for joining us. What time is it over there today? Good morning, Nicole. How are you? Okay, so going back to our card base. So what we need to now to do is adhere this to this. So I'm only going to put glue onto the bottom half of that folded panel on my card. So again, I'm adding glue onto this because I can see where my halfway mark is because of my score lines. And then we're going to sit that on top. And again, using multi-purpose glue gives us that time to make sure that we're lining all of that up. So let me just pop the lid on that for the moment. So there basically is our easel card. So the only thing we haven't got at the moment is the piece to go here to hold our card up. But there's our frame. So now, it's that simple. Wasn't hard at all. Hello, Lena from Canada. So it's 8 in the evening over in Texas. What about you, Lena? What time is it for you? And hello, Linny. How you going? Okay, so there's, as I said, there's our easel card, our base. So let's do some decorating. This is the fun part. I'm actually going to start off with, and this is usually the last part I do, but while this is quite flat and I don't have any bulk or anything on there, I'm going to put my panel on the back to write on. Now you can use multi-purpose glue, you can use your seal, whatever you want to use. And we're going to pop that on there. And I've left a little bit of a gap all the way around. Now I'm just looking at this and my frame just goes out. It was so hard trying to get this down to millimetre perfect, but my frame does come a little bit past my base, but that's, you're not going to even notice that once your card is folded. You lose things like those couple of millimetres there in that fold up the top. So, but as I said, you aren't going to see that once your card is up. Now we're going to take this piece here, now which I've said I've cut it down, and I've cut it down to slightly smaller than the inside because I just wanted a little bit of an edge all the way around. It's up to you whether you want to bring it in smaller, but what I did was, where's my other piece? I took this piece here, measured it in half, then took this measurement that I wanted, halved that, and went half either side. So I knew where the middle of that sheet was to get that nice and balanced. 6:20 in Canada. It's 1:21 here in lunchtime. So I'm so pleased that you're able to join us. It's really nice having people on here and having a chat. Now I'm popping this on with my arch going downwards because I really want that to be a little bit of a focal point because that's what we're going to see through our frame. So that's on there. I'm giving that a really nice rub down, just giving that a little bit of a pull around to make sure it's nice and even. And I just wanted that to sit like that. So when our frame goes across it, it's just going to frame that. Now, I've grabbed some bits and pieces from the pack because that designer series paper comes with some die cuts. And we're going to be using our glue dots. And I'm just wondering, I should get my second pack of glue dots out because we might not have enough. And we're going to be using some dimensionals to adhere all of this on. So it's really just a matter of working out what elements you want to put on here. Now, if you were doing something like you had a die cut that was quite large, like say a large leaf or a large flower that went over the edges of your frame, you wouldn't need to put this panel here in, okay? This panel is only here so then we can put things like this on it so it looks like it's floating, okay? So it just looks like it's hanging there in mid-air. I'm not worrying about covering the back of it. You could, because this one here comes with 2 of each design. You could, if you wanted to, do both the back and front the same, but I just feel that you're not going to see the back of it. The card is actually going to be displayed like that. So I'm only using 1 of each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a glue dot in the middle of this one. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pop a glue dot, pop these onto glue dots. So this is my holly I've chosen to use. And I'm going to pop 1 glue dot on each one. So I'm just going to attach that all onto there. I'm also going to pop 2 glue dots, I think, onto my banner. And I'm actually putting them close to the end because this banner's not going to go right across. And I'm putting 2 very, very close together. I don't know whether you can see that, but they're on this end here, and they're in that last, probably that last 1.5 centimetres. So what I want to do, actually I am going to take those off because I've just realised I am going to move that a little bit. I sort of did a little dry fit of this earlier, but I did that earlier today. So let me just take that last glue dot off. You're better off using glue dots when you're doing this onto a window sheet because it will actually stay. If you use something like multi-purpose glue, it will it'll move about too much. So I've just left one glue dot there now. So I'm going to pop this banner. I want it to go across, and I want it to go a little bit over the edge of that, but not too much. I still want this piece here to be seen underneath, so I'm trying not to cover that up. It will get covered, but not too much. So that's going to go there. Now what you could do if you wanted to is pop another glue dot underneath here, which is going to give that a little bit of stability there. So I'm just going to pop one just there. So now it's sitting across my frame from the center out. Okay, so that's going to go there. This piece here, I'm going to want it sitting around about there. So I'm going to pop that about there. So I'm going to pop another glue dot right in the middle of that. So let me see if I can pop that right in there. I'm hoping I've got that into the middle. And that's going to go there. I'm not putting any glue dots around the outer edge of this because I am wanting to poke these little holly pieces onto those. So I've got glue dots already on there. And I'm going to pop one about there. And I'm just tucking it under. So that's why I don't put glue dots right up to the very top, the edge. I'm only putting it in the center because I want to be able to tuck things underneath. The second one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn it the other way. So I've got this one here with the stem coming down this way. This one here, I'm going to turn it with the stem going there. And again, I just want to pop that underneath. Now, that's not going to the edge, so you can see how that's starting to look like it's floating, okay? My little cardinal bird, I'm going to pop a dimensional on the back of him, and he is going to sit up. Now, with any of these pieces where I've only put one glue dot, now that I've got these adhered where I want to go, if I'm unsure of where they're positioned and I want to come back and add a bit more, you can come back and add a little bit of glue or add a little bit more adhesive. Like there's another glue dot. I'm just going to add another one just underneath there just to make sure that's now secured. Now I know where it's going to go, okay? And it's also too, I don't have that much happening on the back here. I'm not layering this up with lots of glue. I'm just keeping my back as neat as I possibly can. So there's our decorated part, and that's all I want to do with that, because by the time when you open up an envelope and you see that is pretty on its own, with the fact that we've got the pattern underneath on the designer series paper peeking through that. But I do want to add my sentiment. Now, last week on our card, I used the same sentiments, but this one here, because these are adhesive backed, I didn't take the adhesive off this because I really feel the adhesive is actually on there fairly strong. But what I did mention to you is how you can use your embossing buddy to take away the stickiness on the back of these. So I've got my embossing buddy here. So if you wanted to make this just into a die cut and not into an adhesive sticker, what you just do is you peel off that the backing of your sentiment or of your, if you're using a sticker of some sort, And then we're going to just use our embossing buddy and the powder in there. Now you could use, if you don't have an embossing buddy, you could use corn flour, you can use talcum powder. It's just, that's what these things are filled with. It's just something to take away, and I'm just going to pat that down, just release some of that powder. You can get something like a child's sock, baby sock, and put some, as I said, some corn flour, cornstarch in there, put some talcum powder in there, and then tie a knot in it, and that will also create your own embossing buddy. This one here came with a kit, which we have got on our Stamping Up online store, which comes with a tray. It comes with, because it's a part of an embossing kit, where you have this tray for your embossing powder. It came with reversible tweezers. It came with a paintbrush, just to be able to get rid of, I'm not quite sure where I've put that at the moment. Somewhere here safe. And I'm trying to think, and it came with the embossing buddy. Didn't come with my silicone mat. So then when you're doing embossing, you've got all of that. It's a kit, so you can buy it with the powder. And I've just got an old container for some buttons. Actually, I think Linny gave me this, that I keep my embossing buddy in there. So you can purchase an embossing buddy as part of this kit, or as I said, you can make one up for yourself. Okay, so once we've taken the stickiness all off of that, and I'm just going to brush the back of that down, and I've got powder all over my fingers, which is fine, and we're going to grab again our dimensionals, and I'm going to pop a couple of dimensionals on here, and this is what we're going to be using to create our stopper. So we're going to open up our card, and we're going to work out where we want this to go. Now, we want it to go, I don't want to cover up this completely, but I do want that to go so it catches on there, but I also want it to look nice underneath. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a look. Might need to move that across a little bit. If you wanted to hide that, you could take that up a bit higher, and that'll hide it to a point underneath your elements. So you could actually have it something like that, which is what I think I might do. So I'm going to take them, I'm going to sit it up that little bit higher, probably around about there. Whoops, might help if I got it on nice and straight. I haven't pushed it down yet, so we're just going to have a look. We might need to move it across just a little bit more. So it's going to be a little bit more on one side. There we go. So let's get rid of that rubbish. So there's our easel card. So when that's closed, when someone gets that out of their envelope, Christmas time, that's what they're going to see, and then you can open that up, and there's your card there. So just a very simple card, but very, very effective, I think. When I first saw that, it was a black card and it had white daisies all down through the centre, because it wasn't done by another Stamping Up demonstrator. It was done by someone else, and I thought, oh, that was so effective. But I hope you've enjoyed that. Yeah, it's an easy one to make, Deborah. Thank you very much. You too, Deborah. And thank you, Nicole. So there you are. We've used some of that beautiful velvet paper. And as I said, you can purchase this, if you're here in Australia, you can purchase any of these products on my Stampin' Up online store, and you just need to you can go to butterfliesandbows.com and you can get your tutorial from there. There's also a link to there on my store, or you can go directly to Michele at Jutrisa.stampingup.net, and that will take you directly to my online store as well. So there you are. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's a card that you will create yourself. As I said, there will be a printed printable tutorial up tomorrow. I've written it all, been very organised today. That's what I've been playing around with this morning. So that's all written, ready to go. I just have to take photographs now of the finished card to add to that. So thank you very much for joining me. Nice, short, sweet and simple today. I'm doing well. I hope you have a lovely, lovely weekend. Hello, Julia. Thank you for joining. It's wonderful to have you on here. So please come along, join me next Friday, and we'll make another easel card. I've been playing around and I've got lots of ideas going around in my head that I'm going to be playing with tomorrow. So hopefully I can create something a little bit different again for you. So more easel cards to come. So thank you very much, as I said, for joining me. Have a lovely, lovely weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Take care. Stay safe. Bye for now.